Welcome to the SpiritWoke podcast, podcasting from the beautiful city of Stillwater, the birthplace of Minnesota. Are you going through a spiritual awakening? Do you wish to learn more about continued spiritual growth and want to meet others who are on a similar journey? We hope that this podcast and its community can be a meaningful resource for you. The SpiritWoke podcast welcomes special guests from around the globe who share personal stories of their awakening journey, along with details of spiritual abilities they've developed along the way. So buckle up and get ready for this exciting episode. And now, here's your host, Adam Dins.
Friends, welcome back to the SpiritWoke podcast. Today, we are joined by Carrie Kohan, author of one of my all-time favorite books, and I'm not just saying that because she's on the podcast, The 5 Lessons of Life. Carrie is one of those rare gems. She's a Native American author, speaker, and mother of 2 whose main focus is on the topic of New Thought consciousness. Her international best-selling book, The 5 Lessons of Life, is all about her journey into the afterlife, both heaven and hell. After returning from 2 separate near-death experiences, Carrie went on to become a national child advocate and has amended and written more laws to protect children than any other citizen alive today. What's even more amazing is that Ms. Kohan is learning disabled and was illiterate for much of her life. She contributes her success to the lessons she was given while on the other side. Carrie says she receives messages and downloads that are spirit-driven and given, and that we are all capable of this. In her newest book, she shows us how. Please welcome me in joining Carrie Kohan to the show. Carrie, welcome to the SpiritWoke podcast.
Oh, thank you so much, Adam. It's a pleasure to be here.
It is a pleasure to have you. And, you know, I always love to share where I can with the audience how I've gotten to know the guests who come on the show. And Carrie and I, of all things, met on Facebook through...
We did.
Through a string of comments on a post. And you know, I went to Carrie's page and noticed that she had a book, and I was fascinated by the topic of the book, near-death experiences, or something that for some reason just, I don't know, they just really captivate me. And Carrie and I started speaking, and lo and behold, here she is on the podcast. So holy moly, so fortunate here.
It's been a great journey so far, hasn't it?
It's been amazing, you know, and Carrie, I have to tell you, I loved your book so much, and I've read quite a few accounts of near-death experiences, and I really wasn't expecting at the end of your book to be left in tears. You know, I was sitting on the couch, and I remember just at the end going, "Oh my God!" and I just started crying, and I'm not going to give it away.
No.
For those of you who have not read
it's good tears. It's good tears, though, right? You know, It's overwhelming, insightful type, like, wow, holy cow kind of tears. The way
the experience ended for you, not that it has ended, but in the book, was like the perfect bookend to the entire experience. And so I encourage everyone who's listening to the podcast to buy it. If you go to my website, spiritwoke.com, you will find on the page where her podcast is hosted a link to where you can purchase her book on Amazon. So definitely do that. And you know, Carrie, since we're kind of hinting around the book, could you give our audience just a brief overview of the 5 Lessons of Life?
Absolutely. The 5 Lessons of Life was a series of lessons that was given to me when I had my second near-death experience. I died twice in my late 20s. The first time I was 27. The second time was a year later when I was 28. And both experiences were life-changing. The first one, I had an abortion, and I was brought up Catholic, and Protestant actually combined, and my belief systems was, I've done the worst of the worst atrocity. I'm going to hell, and I started to, like self-abuse and with thoughts. I never self-harmed, but I guess I did. I did through alcohol. I became a raging alcoholic for 4 years. I drank myself into the ground, and I really wanted to just die. I was so sorrowful for what I had done to our little girl. And I do say little girl because I had dreams of her before she ever came to us, and before I even knew I was pregnant. And I saw her, I felt her, I knew her little beingness. She was the beautifulest little blonde-haired, blue-eyed baby, and it was a tragedy. So in beating myself up so long, I didn't realize that, I always thought I was a very good person. I had been the ideal daughter. I didn't have a boyfriend until I was 20. I had never tried drugs. I was really, a straight-laced young lady that was a volunteer since the age of 13. And I thought that when I died, I would go to heaven. It would just be a given because I had been a good soul. But what I didn't realize was that my self-hate and self-loathing for who I had become and what I had done was enough to trap me when I went to the other side. So my first death, I actually met with the dark side, which was shocking to me. I met toe-to-toe with what we know as the devil. And at the time, I was an atheist. I didn't believe in God. I didn't believe in Jesus or Allah or whatever label you want to put on spirit. I was brought up, like I said, Catholic, but I'm also Native. I'm Métis and Cree. And so our belief was also grandfather spirit and grandmother spirit as well. So whatever label you wanted to believe, I had no belief system whatsoever. So there I was, an atheist, and standing toe to toe with what we know as Satan or the devil, and he was coming after me. And it was at that moment I thought, okay, you know what? If this really is the devil, then that means there has to be something on the other side, because we do live in the world of contrast. We have up and down, left and right, everything is in contrast of one another. So there has to be a good if this is such an evil entity in front of me. So I called in, I commanded that Creator, Jesus, whoever it is, be by my side here and now. And to my surprise and shock, I felt and saw Creator standing to my right, and Jesus was to my left. And that was when the journey began. I died again a year later after I cleaned up my life completely. And I remember standing in front of Spirit and the Council of Men. I had never heard of the Council of Men. And I was standing in front of them thinking, why is it that after listening to Spirit, I've done all the good stuff that I was supposed to do, and being that I learned to love myself again. And by doing that, why am I now in front of the council? Why am I now being judged? And they reassured me and said that it was far from judgment, that, they weren't judging me. It was that I was still judging myself on many levels. And so they were asking me to stop that and move beyond it, to let go of it, so that way I could finish my mission. And I laughed because I was still at that time, I had stopped drinking, but I still didn't feel that I was unique in any way, special in any way, and that I was capable of creating any difference in this planet. And there is a caveat to this, because we are all special. There's a saying that no one is more special than anyone else on this planet. I think that it's to the contrary. I think that we're all unique, that we are all special, and that we are all given gifts to apply here to accomplish whatever mission it is that we've come to do. So that was the beginning of it all. And in that, Creator gave me the 5 lessons of life. And that is forgiveness, compassion, faith and trust that you're on the right path, and unconditional love and gratitude. So unconditional love and gratitude are really in the same lesson, because they walk hand in hand. And with those 5 lessons, I changed my life. And I came back and was a completely different person.
And they're such powerful lessons too. You hear those things those 5 lessons, as you put it, almost like in bullet points. But, when you read the 5 lessons of life, and you get into the detail of what Carrie learned on the flip side about those 5 lessons, it's really impactful.
Yeah. Well, forgiveness, I think, is where everything begins, right? When I wrote the book, it took me many years to write the book, by the way. I actually finished it in 2014, and not many people know this part of the story, but in 2014, I finished the book. I was celebrating with my kids, hooray, it's done, because it had been, 23 years since the event actually happened. And all of a sudden, I heard very clearly, all the messages always come in my right ear, either just behind my right side or in my right ear. And so I heard this message, wait 8 months. And I was like, what? I just finished writing this. Are you kidding me? And so I got out the calendar. I circled 8 months to the day. And lo and behold, 8 months to the day was the day my father passed away. And I came to realize that I wasn't as kind to my father in the book as I could have been. I wasn't actually practicing the 5 lessons of life fully with my own father. So I had rewrite, and I had to rewrite my own story, both, physically, physiologically, emotionally, spiritually, every which way. And that took me another 5 years. So when I was completely done and finished the book, I was congruent with my message. And that's where we are today. So I had to start with forgiveness. And that's where all of our journeys begin. So many people say, well, you've had this kind of experience, but where do I begin? How do I do this? Well, it all starts with forgiveness of yourself and forgiveness of others. I think a lot of people resist forgiveness because they're afraid that if they forgive someone, they are condoning the actions. And they're wanting to hold that person accountable for what they did or what they said. And forgiveness is not about that. Forgiveness is not about what the other person did. It's really all about you. And by forgiving, you're letting yourself be free of the story. So I think it's making that conscious decision to focus on the lesson rather than the story itself. Those are profound words, to consciously focus on the lesson that has come from these experiences rather than the story itself. That's where you step into freedom and you step into a new way of looking at your life and being able to be open to soar and be free of the story that once bound you.
I love what you just said, and I feel like there's a message here for our listeners and myself, frankly, in that, I feel like those of us who are on the awakening journey, we're constantly in a state of healing, right? Like and there's so many layers to the proverbial onion, right? There's so many layers. And I know in my life I've experienced where I thought that I was healed of something, or that I had, forgiven something, or even things that I didn't even know that I needed to forgive, right? And as you kind of go down this path, you realize that, there's more. There's more. And I find it absolutely fascinating and comforting, Carrie, that you had this beautiful, amazing experience after you passed, and you learned these lessons, and you came back and you wrote the book, and you still realized after writing it, after all those years, that through that process you had kind of gone through additional forgiving. It wasn't like you came back and everything was hunky-dory, right? Like it still took some work after seeing everything that you saw and everything you experienced, right?
Oh, absolutely. I still have. I was thinking about this before I came in to meet with you, and I thought there are 3 women in my life that I have had a disconnection with, and it wasn't pleasant. And they were dear friends, and I held in my heart sorrow for what had happened. And now I'm starting, again, the realization that everything happens for a reason, that had that disconnect not happened, I wouldn't have been, catapulted into a new way of looking, a new way of feeling and doing, actions that I did. So I look at, my mom always said, today's tragedy is tomorrow's blessing. And the tragedy of losing a dear friend or being out of, sync with who you truly are, those bring lessons. And I'm grateful for each and every one of those lessons. And I trust that when the time is right, I will heal and grow to be, that much better of a person. And our friendship will reunite if it's meant to be. You said that I believe that life is a constant state of healing. I would say there's a distinction here. It's a constant state of growth. And in that growth is healing, but it is also, letting go of fear and of lack and of mistrust and all the dark or negative or lower level vibration energy, thought energies that are no longer needed. I truly believe that we're in such a magical time here on the planet. Remember, this all happened to me in 1993 and 1992. So, at that time, there weren't any gem stores or metaphysical stores. If there were, actually, Banyan Books in Vancouver, BC was out, I think, at that time, but it would be the only one. I can't think of many others. They were rare. And so there was no talk of quantum physics or multiple dimensions or holograms or any of that. So when this first happened to me, I really truly thought I was nuts. I thought, well, it had to be a alcohol-induced hallucination. But then the confirmation started to come, and Spirit was showing signs to me left, right, and center that it wasn't a dream, that it actually did happen. And I've looked at some other near-death experience interviews, and I thought to myself, it's interesting that they can actually say, yes, I was dead, and the doctors confirmed that I was dead for, 20 minutes or whatever it may be. I don't have that. I know that I died both times. The first time I was drunk, I choked on my own vomit, to be, frank. And I was out of my body for a very long time. I estimate probably 3-4 hours because it was daylight. It was starting to get to be daylight by the time that I was back in my body again. And then the second time I died of a heart attack, and in my room by myself. And I think that the reason why these happened was I had the luxury of being able to be with Spirit without interruption. No one was working on my body, trying to wake me up, trying to bring me back to life. I was left to be at peace where I could experience at length a lot of messages, a series of messages and experiences. And when the time was right, they sent me home. And I came home.
I'm sure there are people who are listening to the cast who might be thinking, well, Carrie, you had this incredible experience, 2 of them, and such an intimate, amazing encounter and lessons, taught to you directly from source. Sure, sure, this should be easy for you, or not easy, but it should make sense for you. All these things that you're teaching should come to you because you had that experience. What about those of us who haven't? Those of us that are just kind of living our lives, the day-to-day grind. We haven't really had that face-to-face time with Spirit in such a tangible way. What do you say to those people who feel like they haven't had that experience to really to live their life in the way that you've learned how to?
Well, where do I begin? I think everyone speaks with Creator. I think everyone is having a conversation with Creator every day. especially in dream time. Being Native, that's what we believe, is that dream time is the time where you truly connect with spirit, when you're an apprentice or an initiate, or just starting to wake up. And you can grow to the point that you can simply just be still, close your eyes, and connect with Source. I always thought that life would be easier when I came back, and I found it to be quite the opposite. The old saying is, God only gives you what you can handle. And I was pushed to the breaking point on many, many occasions. I thought of suicide so many times, even after I came back. And knowing what I know about suicide, I still contemplated it because I was pushed so hard. But in that came so many lessons, and I helped change societal's way of looking at pedophilia, for instance. I've amended 14 laws, and I did all of that purely by trusting in spirit. So for anyone else, I am no more special than you are. In fact, we are all special. We are all unique, and we all have abilities and gifts. We've all been given gifts. It's simply tapping into those gifts and being able to trust and have faith that you're safe, number one, that this is safe, that the boogeyman's not going to come and get you. Put a white light around yourself, and just trust that you are safe in stepping into what is for the best and highest good for all concerned. So whenever I meditate, mindfulness, whatever you want to label it as today, the new word for it, I guess, is mindfulness, but it's all the same. It's stilling the mind and connecting to Source. And so when you do that, simply take 3 deep breaths in and out, in through your nose, out through your mouth, center yourself, and just concentrate on your breathing. And when you do that, you open your mind to possibilities. At first, it may just be flashes of light. It may be a word that comes to you. It may be an insight that just, flashes into your mind like a message. Whatever it is, journal it, write it down. And it is in journaling that you will start to grow. I have a lot of clients that come to me. We've been doing courses forever, Freedom Masters workshops, and 10,000 clients have come through our workshops now in the last many, decade or two. And the thing that most of them come with is that they wake up at 1:22 or 3:23 or 4:44. It's usually a unique number, and they wake up often at the same time, same place, in their dream state. And the answer to that is Spirit's trying to knock on your door, right? And it's just a matter of listening. So a lot of people say, I've never had those experiences. Well, if you're waking up a lot in the middle of the night, you are having those experiences. It's just a matter of whether you want to listen or not. And so how do you listen? You get out a dream journal, and you have a pen and paper beside your bed. As soon as you wake up, you grab that pen and paper and you say, okay, I'm finally ready, willing, and able to listen. What would you like to tell me? And either you may hear one word, like believe. That's a common one. That is the first breath of wisdom that will be, transferred to you. Believe, trust, have faith. And from there, start to write. Whatever you feel is coming through, just journal, just write. And the reason why they come at those hours is because that's when the world is most still. We are on the 3rd dimension. The 4th dimension is like a white noise. It's just it's all of our thoughts combined lifting up. It's thought pollution, basically. And then the 5th dimension is of the wisdom keepers, the angelic realm. That's where they come to be able to speak with us. So through the 4th dimension, during the daytime, unless you're skilled at being able to listen, it's very difficult to hear because of all the racket that's going on around you in your mind and energetically. But at say 1:22 or 2:22 or 2:11 in the morning or whatever it is for you, the world is still and your mind is still, your heart is open, and that's when they can communicate with you. Your angelic beings, your spirit guides, your higher consciousness, whatever you want to call it, God, Buddha, Allah, whoever it is for you, that's when they can speak with you. So invite them in and start to take those moments to just write. And if you don't hear anything the first night, that's fine. Breathe, relax, and just trust that a message, a feeling, a thought will eventually come through.
Absolutely. So true. And sometimes it doesn't come through when we expect it to because, we're thinking so hard or we're hoping so hard that, it's easy sometimes for us to even put something in our own mind. And so when it comes through unexpectedly, it's like, it's like that little jolt of added assurance that it comes from spirit. So,
Yes. Yeah, very much. Right.
It's true. It's very true.
I love when those moments happen because they're rather shocking, but at the same time, they're eye-opening, they're heart-opening, and they are the moments that you shift from, one state of consciousness to another. It's awesome.
It is. So, Carrie, I want to touch a little bit on, you were talking about safety, right? And you were talking about that we're safe, and, the boogeyman's not there to get us. I want to ask you a question because, in your book, you talk about being haunted by shadow people and gremlins, which you also saw during your first near-death experience. And as you mentioned earlier, you also saw Satan, which you say that you believe exists, which is interesting to me because, prior to this happening, you were an atheist, right? And so
truly,
my question is, where do you believe these darker entities come from? What is their purpose?
We are in the planet Earth. And when we came here, we agreed to come to a place that was, you could have free will. You could make a decision on how you wanted to live, what you wanted to do, and how you wanted to grow spiritually. With that is also a world of contrast because challenges and obstacles and, opportunities are given to you. I don't see challenges as challenges. I see them as opportunities. These are opportunities for you to be able to grow your spirit beyond measure. And when I died the second time, we talked about my first death with the Council of Men, which were 12 members. They were sitting at an elongated table, and Creator was in the center, and there were 6, wise men on one side and 6 on the other. And just a little segue, my first thought was, what the hell, where are they? Why are they all men? Where are the women? And Creator shared with me that the female energy is very much around us, but the female energy is serving a different purpose. What I needed to heal at that particular time was very masculine energy, and so therefore I met with the Council of Men. So, what was your question? I got on that segue.
It was about where Satan and the gremlins and dark entities come from and what their purpose is.
Right. So in meeting with the Council of Men, we reviewed my first death. And what they shared with me was that I was beating myself up so much that I was actually inviting in a darker energy. I was believing in it more than I was being open to the light, the joy, the prosperity, and with suicidal thoughts, I was definitely going down the rabbit hole in a very dark and negative way. So I think that they come from being in this illusion. The Council of Men basically said to me that we were very concerned with you because you were self-destructing. And the whole purpose of going to Earth is you have an opportunity. You can either grow your spirit beyond measure, or you can return worse off than whence you came. Those were their words. You can return off worse off than whence you came. Return back to heaven, that is, because everyone does ultimately go back there. It depends on what route you take. Some choose really heavy, dark routes, and finally will find the strength to invite the light in. And when you invite that light in, you invite source energy in. That's when you return. So I think that when you come here to Earth, this is the ultimate challenge. We are the warriors of the spirit world because we are the brave ones to come. And number one, we want to grow our spirit, but also we want to work as a collective in growing our conscience. We are at a troubling time, many would say, here on this planet. I think that it's an exciting time. I think that this is like the 100th monkey. Did you ever read Ken Kesey's book, 100 Monkey, in 1982? I read it, actually. I wasn't a very good reader, but it was a tiny little book, and it was given to me back, I was graduating that year, and that's why I remember it. It was 82, and it's a book about, it's a tale, and about scientists that worked with monkeys on two separate islands, and the monkeys were given potatoes, and they had a hard time in eating the potatoes, and in fact they weren't eating them because they couldn't clean the sand off. Well, one little monkey decided to wash the potatoes into the water, and by doing so, all the sand came off and started to enjoy the potatoes. Well, once one did it, then three more came in enjoying it. And the power of consciousness, all the monkeys on that one particular island were eating potatoes that were being supplied to them by the scientists with ease and grace. Once, it was like a tipping point. Once the consciousness grew to a certain level, it seemed to magically or mysteriously travel through the energetic field, and it was like fireworks going off on other islands. Immediately, all the other monkeys on the other islands were able to do the same. So I believe that is our duty here, is to raise our consciousness, to focus on love, to focus on letting go of the thought pollution, letting go of the fear, the lack, the self-destruction, and start to see yourself as if you're living on heaven here on earth, living in heaven here on earth. And by doing so, you will change the collective consciousness, because everything starts with self. Forgiveness starts with self, trust starts with self, compassion starts with self, faith, and unconditional love. All the 5 lessons. When you can master these, when you can actually say to yourself, do I unconditionally love, the person that's hurt me? Do I have faith and trust that we were on a path for a reason together? And do I have forgiveness and compassion for that person because I didn't like what they did, but I can understand and have faith and compassion for them now. When you can say that about someone that's harmed or said words or done something to really hurt you, that's when you're stepping into a new state of consciousness, and that's when you're healing on a whole new level. But even more than that, when you can say that about yourself, when you can look at yourself and say, I unconditionally forgive and have compassion for myself. I have faith and trust that I am on the right path, and I unconditionally love myself and have gratitude for my life each and every day. That's when you know that you're stepping in alignment with source energy, and you're doing what you're supposed to do here. That's when everything is provided for you, and life becomes much more ease and easy for you.
Yeah, that resonates well. Carrie, I have a question that I know people are thinking right now when they hear you talk about unconditional love, and this is by way this is by no means a way to be a trick question.
No.
Is there a difference between unconditional love, forgiveness, and the ability to like or enjoy being around somebody?
Well, Do you have something in particular? It sounds like you're asking for your own self.
No, it's more like if somebody hurts you, or even just say they, for whatever reason, they annoy you. You know, there's certain quirks that just kind of, they're just not enjoyable to be around. Let's just say.
Okay.
But can you still unconditionally love someone while at the same time not necessarily want to be around them?
Oh, absolutely. Okay. You don't have to be friends with everyone on this planet. If someone, is annoying you and you really don't want to be around them, then that's discernment. That is, making a decision for yourself that I am going to be discerning who I am going to invite into my conscious world, who's going to be spending time with me. When my kids were little, I used to say to them, either you're going to fly with the eagles or you're going to flock with the turkeys, honey. So you have to make a decision who you're going to spend time with and share your thoughts with. So I also think that if someone is annoying you, compassion is the key component here, because forgiveness is definitely the first step, but compassion walks hand in hand with forgiveness, right? Many people, more faith and trust, they think that's the same thing. But with faith, or forgiveness and compassion, they're codependent upon one another in order for you to move forward. Because in order to have total forgiveness or total freedom of any attachments to someone, you need to let go of them. And that includes if someone's just annoying you. If they're annoying you, they're triggering something in you that is your spirit speaking and saying, everything's a mirror, right? So if someone is annoying you, it's a mirror for yourself that, okay, what is it in them that is annoying to me that I need to heal in my own self, or that is motivating me to do something? For instance, I have a very dear girlfriend. She's like a sister to me, and she was very annoyed with another, person that was living their life in a way that she was jealous of. And I think jealousy is a great wake-up call, because jealousy is, your spirit saying, psst, this is what you are meant to do. This is your spirit talking to you. This is your spirit calling. If you're feeling jealous of someone else, it's because they're doing something that deep down inside you want to do yourself. So, whether it's, for instance, if they're a public speaker and you really want to be a public speaker yourself, if you're feeling jealous about that person, it's because deep down inside you're wanting to do that yourself. And that goes with being annoyed with someone as well. If you're finding that you're annoyed with them, annoyment and jealousy, they kind of are very close to one another energetically. And so, in order to be free of all of that, compassion is probably your first step, because without compassion, you don't have empathy. And without empathy, there's no vision. There's no being able to see from their perspective, right? And if you don't have their perspective in mind, then your heart isn't open to all possibilities that maybe they're in your life for a certain reason. Maybe they're here to inspire you to do something, to be something, and to, inspire others, right? And without that open heart, the spirit can't forgive. It can't grow and advance. So you need to have compassion in order to forgive and in order to be able to be free yourself and to move forward and to grow and advance. So if you're being triggered and someone's annoying you, I simply say, thank you, thank you, thank you now. I didn't in the past. I used to get really upset. I had one girlfriend that I blocked on Facebook. I was so pissed off with her. She was annoying to me. And then I had to think about it. I went, wait a minute here. Okay, so what is it that's annoying? Where am I not being congruent in my own life? And what is the message that's being sent to me through her? So in the end, I had to actually thank her. I haven't been able to yet, but I hope someday I will. She was one of the 3 that I was speaking about earlier, right?
Yeah. So I guess for all of you who are blocking your friends posting election 2020 material, keep that in mind because...
But there's also discernment, right?
Yep.
And so it is deciding what is it that you want to focus on. If you don't want to see that, I stopped watching the news, a decade ago. I saw the news, it was an acronym for nothing ever worth seeing,
Nice.
and because there is good news out there and that is growing. And so that I focus on, absolutely. But the old way of doing business with news, not even the old way. The old way, when I was an advocate, a child advocate, that was powerful. We were able to get a lot done. But then news progressed to be more orchestrated, and it was very hard to get stories out there, actually, that weren't in alignment with the agenda of the owners of the broadcast systems. So I think we're moving beyond that, and it's being discerning. What do you want to focus on in your life? Do you want to focus on, what's going on in another country that you can meditate on and you can send love to? But I choose to do that every day anyways, right? I don't need to hear the negative stuff that's going on in, a country that, because my focus is purely love. I truly believe that we are going to bring meditation to the masses. I have had a repeated vision over and over again that I'm in New York City in Central Park, and I'm on, the stadium. Well, I'm trying to be humble here. Damn it, I'm on the stage and I'm leading a group meditation that, I can see a day when we will be a collective consciousness of enlightened beings that want the best for this world and for each other and for ourselves, that we will have let go of, thought pollution. We will let go of self-harm and self-destructive thoughts, and we will instead embrace, love, compassion, forgiveness, faith, and trust.
Yeah, that's a beautiful vision, Carrie, and I think a lot of us who have connected with Source and feel that, that have had those experiences where we felt the love and have felt and feel those things on a regular basis. We want the world to experience that as well. Another reason why we have podcasts like SpiritWoke.
Exactly.
We want to educate folks to let them know that, there is something out there. And when I say out there, in there, right? That that's inside of all of us. And we say awakening. I remember I had a really incredible spiritual experience where I was having a conversation with God in meditation, and this message I got from God was, we have everything inside of us. Well, it was actually directed at me. It wasn't a generalization, but it was, you have everything inside of you that you need. You are complete, but sometimes you need a teacher to awaken those things inside of you that are asleep. And it was such a profound experience for me to understand that, that I was complete and that I didn't, we spend so much time going out and looking for the answers to who we are. And, truly go out and go find myself. I'm going to go out and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And a lot of those things are valuable. I'm not taking away from it. I've gone on many soul journeys myself, but to just know that everything that I am already is inside of me. I don't have to go outside to buy or acquire or to get an add-on, if you will. It's all there. And
Absolutely.
I think, for a lot of us, Carrie, we just want to help awaken those things in people that are already there, that once they come alive, helps not just them live their lives in a more fulfilled spiritual way, but as you so eloquently stated, raising the group consciousness, raising our global consciousness to a place where we can elevate as a whole and be just a gift to each other that we are meant to be.
I think you hit it on the pin on the, what is it? Hit it on the nail. I really think that the minimalism movement is all about that. It's the realization that we have everything that we already need. And, my partner and I were talking about this morning, and I was saying that I can see a time where we move beyond, not even being a vegetarian, because I think when you grow spiritually, you just naturally grow into compassion for every living thing, including insects. And so how could you ever consume a chunk of meat, a side of beef that's sitting in front of you? Because number one, you also realize that the trauma that animal went through, the halal movement is something totally different, but coming from Canada and the U.S., right? The way that we process cattle and meat products, it's pretty traumatic. So energetically, that trauma is still in the beef. We know that all the pheromones and the fear hormones, the adrenaline, was all pumping through the muscles, and it's staying in the beef. So I found that when I was eating meat, I wasn't as spiritual. I could not connect to spirit as strongly as I could once I was a vegetarian. And it's also because I wasn't practicing compassion the way that, you got to walk your talk, right? Yeah. And so how can I be this person that is speaking of the 5 lessons if I'm sitting down and chowing down with a, hunk of beef sitting in front of me? Couldn't do it. But I think we're going to move beyond that. So the movement for many is to be vegetarians, but I think even that is going to be by the wayside in maybe another generation or two, where eventually we will step into not needing anything. We won't need water. We won't need food to exist because we are energetic beings. We are one with the energetic field. And when you are in that energetic field, there is no need for anything else. So that's where I see humanity growing and going, and I think that is what we are capable of. We're capable of telepathy. We're capable of being able to move objects and transport through wormholes. I've had so many experiences. My goodness, Adam. I'm 55 years old, and I've been doing things since I was 3 years old, and that can be a whole nother topic that we can come back and talk about another time, because it's been a journey and a half, and I think it's been a journey and a half, number one, because of the parents that I had. They allowed me to be open. They never shamed me to, not think certain ways. I was open to spirit. And so I experienced a great deal of stuff in my lifetime. And I felt a lot of pain and judgment about it as well in my lifetime, including losing custody of my daughter at one point. They never showed me that in heaven when I died. Had I seen that, I don't know if I would have come back, because that was one of those points where I stood at the riverside and I was going to commit suicide. This is after I returned. I had 2 children, and in a very difficult divorce that lasted 15 years, cost me everything. I do not blame by any means. I hope your listeners hear me. That story is a story of love on both sides, right? Because I understand he needed to play the role he did, and I needed to play the role I did in order to manifest everything that we did, including losing custody of my youngest daughter, because it brought her into a whole new level of thinking. My thinking was, okay, you think I'm nuts. I'm really going to show you how nuts I am. And I started to work with people, right? And it gave me the impetus to come out of the spiritual closet once and for all. I was standing at that riverside, and I was going to jump in. It was a frozen river, Saskatchewan River, northern, Alberta, and in Canada. And at that moment that I was about to jump in, and like I said, I knew everything about suicide, that it just becomes an endless loop. So don't do it. Read the book. If you're thinking of suicide, you got to read this book because it explains it all. So as I was standing there, my cell phone rang, and it was my oldest daughter. And she said, "Hey, Mama." I couldn't tear up. "Hi, Mama. What you doing?" And I said, I had just come from the courthouse where I was removed of all parental rights to our youngest. The court separated our girls. And I said, "Oh, honey, I'm just, busy right now." And she said, "Well, I'm really worried about you, and I want you to come home." And I said, "Okay, I'll come home. Don't you worry." And she saved my life that day. She phoned right at that pivotal moment because she listened to her inner guidance. She knew something was up, and she took action. And she saved my life. And she changed everything for us moving forward. Conversely, my youngest, playing the role that she did, she also saved many lives, because by being taken away and by going to live with her father and stepfamily for the 6 years that she did, it gave me the impetus to start to help others. And wow, the transformations that I've witnessed in my lifetime. I give 45-minute sessions, and at the end of that, people are transformed. I've had clients that have been with psychologists and psychiatrists for 14, 18 years, and with one in particular, it took 3 45-minute sessions, but she was a new woman, and we have all of the documents to back everything up, right? So I've kept testimonials from everyone. So it's life-changing when you are willing to step into who you authentically are and to let go of the story and rewrite your story. You automatically rewrite your future. Yeah. So that's what I did.
And I love in your book how you speak about, when we think about time, especially here on Earth, we think about time kind of being a horizontal line, right? And it's kind of sequential, right. But really the way time is more of a vertical line. It's straight up and down, and that we can, the only moment we have now is the present moment, and we can go, if we change something, and I'm butchering this now, but you can change in the past, and it changes what's happening right now in our lives, and that, and yes. So. And for those...
The ripple effect.
The ripple effect.
Yeah. Sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, for those of you who haven't read Carrie's book, The 5 Lessons of Life, I know Carrie just spoke about, her ex-husband and children, but, read the book and understand it's not just a, and when I say just a, I'm not minimizing it, but it's not just a divorce and loss of children, but if you read about Carrie's life and how impactful those 3 pieces were in her story, I promise you'll understand that when Carrie talks about this divorce process and the loss of her child, or not the loss, but just her temporary loss of her child to custody, you'll understand why even more so it was such a big impact to Carrie. So definitely read the book. So. Carrie, I know we're cutting in on time here, and I want to be cognizant of your time as well, and we want to have you back on the show to talk more about other things. So I can't wait. But before we go, I would love it if you would just tell our listeners, what do you have going on? What are you offering? You've talked about services that you provide. Would love for you to plug anything that you've got going on, and then to let people know how to get a hold of you.
You are so sweet. I love you. I tell you, Adam, you're just amazing. And thank you for this time and support. You're actually my very first interview on this book, believe it or not. Wow. Yeah, me too. And I couldn't have started this journey of sharing the book in a better way. So I thank you for, just showing up in my world and following the Facebook, conversation and finding me. So what we've got going on, I've been really fortunate since, just believing. I always wanted a retreat center, and I set it out there. I put it out to the universe. I really want a retreat center. Don't know how it's going to show up, but I just trust it will. And it did. So I now presently live in Portugal. I live in the beaches of Albufeira, which is glorious, world-renowned beaches in Portugal. And we have a retreat center here. So I give workshops here. I do one-to-one sessions online with people literally around the world. My clients have been everyone from Hollywood A-listers, a lot of celebrities, first responders, I would say, would be my next largest group. So ambulance workers, social workers, doctors, nurses, psychologists, psychiatrists even. I've been the person to go to for many professionals, which has been an honor, to say the least. So I do one-to-one sessions, although I'm starting to fade away from that more so because it was, trapped energy is something that we can talk about next time, because that's what I was experiencing with working with so many people. I wasn't releasing a lot of the energy that I was helping to release in them. I was actually absorbing myself. So now, and time constraint as well. So now I work more with groups. I work with, the workshops themselves. And I just started a podcast as well, setting it up, and that is Talking Everything Spiritual, but it's not up and running yet. So as soon as it does, I'd love to share it with you. But that's the dream. I did a 33 days of conversations with Carrie, which is available on YouTube, on my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Carrie Kohan. And Carrie is as in the movie, Carrie. It's not the best way to remember, but it works. And and I always joke with people and say, well, I dated a guy named Doug Oakey. Had I married Doug, I would have been karaoke.
Oh, so, that would have been amazing. It's not too late.
No, I'm married. I'm getting married. So Doug Oakey is still a dear friend, and I love him. But at any rate, so that's a good way to remember. Carrie Kohan. It's Kohan. And also go to my website, carriekohan.com. And there, September 1st, we'll actually have it completely up and running, because with the book, I've had a new website designed. And on it right now, you can find Amazon worldwide. So there are links to 11 different countries that you can get my book in. It, as of about 4 days ago, I looked at it. And I was thrilled because it's been 5 months since its release, and it is still ranked number 4 in Amazon without any, I don't have a publisher, I don't have an agent, and I'm saying yet, but it's stayed on Amazon as number 4 as Amazon's best gift ideas. So I think that's a testament that this book is just, at a grassroots level. It's being shared from friend to friend to friend, and it's being talked about, and rightfully so, because it's like an owner's manual to your body, mind, spirit, and it gives you tools that, all in one place that you can apply and live your authentic life. And that's really what it's all about. So lots of information on the website of where we're going. I have a 28-day program, 6-month program, a 1-year unlimited program. The 1-year unlimited program is basically you can write me any day of the year, once a day, and I will respond. But that, again, that's going to be limited to a certain amount of people. And I have 2 other big projects that are in mind. One is INET, Global Gatherings. And INET is International Network of Global Gatherings. And so initially it is going to start with Leaders Without Leaders. Many, many years ago, I owned a retreat center in Alberta, and I had a gathering there of leaders without leaders. And in that, we came together and we found that we could share ideas and share what we had, the insights we had, the downloads that we had. And with that, we were able to bring it back to our own communities and speed up the process of enlightenment that much more. So that's what I'm doing, is creating like an exclusive group of individuals that are already, on the path, well versed on the path, and with that we'll come together, we'll share some song and some great food, and be able to go back to our communities and with many more gifts and insights. The other project is Gangs for Good. This came as a download one morning, lucid dream, and I was thinking to myself, what was that? And I heard Gangs for Good. You should create a program, a global program where people just create their own gangs, and Gangs for Good. So you do random acts of kindness. You're looking for random acts of kindness that you can create for other people. And so we've got the logo made up. I have to make the T-shirts up. It's a little premature right now, but at least on the website you'll be able to get a gist of it. And if you want to create your own T-shirts with the logo that's there, go ahead. Feel free. It's less about, selling T-shirts for me. It's more about getting it out there, and the youth especially, bring it to your student councils, bring it to your schools, and see how you can create your own Gangs for Good, and create a difference for others on this planet. Because kindness is probably the best thing that you can do. Creating smiles on other people's faces. That's what we need more of. And with that, naturally, the 5 lessons of life, kind of walk into your world, both for your world and the people that you are affecting in a very positive way. So that is one that I think will go global, and I think will really create a huge conscious shift. And so again, the September 1st is my goal date for the launch for all of these. So lots on the go.
And then
then I'm getting married on November 9th.
In November.
Yes. So that's also in Portugal. So it's all, coming together. And
it is.
And I would wish that everyone would focus on what it is that they want to do in their world, and trust and have faith that the answers are within. Everything you need is already within you. So just journal and start to write and start to meditate. And, there's proper ways to meditate, which I teach. There's very different modalities, for each person, whether you're visual, auditory, kinesthetic. There are different ways for you to meditate, so I teach that. And so come see me and find me online. Drop me an email, Carrie Kohan, support at carriekohan.com. And I'd love to hear from everyone, hear your story and how I can help you.
Excellent. And we'll have all of the links for Carrie on her podcast page. So if you're listening to this on iTunes or on Google Play or somewhere else, definitely go check out our website, www.spiritwoke.com. And you can search for Carrie, or it'll be on our homepage, and you can click on the link to go to her podcast and get all the information that you could possibly want about how to contact her. So Carrie, I wanted to thank you again so much for taking the time to be with us. It's been a true honor to have you here, and couldn't be more grateful for your time and your insights and just how much love you bring to
Thanks, Adam.
Oh, my pleasure.
Thanks, Adam. And, another thought that just came to mind, next time we talk, I'd love to talk more about the advocacy work that I did, because that was all spirit-driven and given, and everyone is capable of that, making a difference in this world and following that instinct that you have inside. So I look forward to that. Thank you for inviting me, dear.
Many more conversations for sure. And so until next time, everybody, may each step in your spiritual journey be filled with blessings, love, lessons, and joy. and we will talk to you soon. Thank you for tuning in.
Thanks for listening to the SpiritWoke podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Be sure to check out our website, spiritwoke.com, and connect with the SpiritWoke community on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search SpiritWoke. Join us next time for another edition of the SpiritWoke podcast. Namaste.